Entitled Parents stole my Switch and held it hostage because I wasn't visiting anymore, by user foglamp03. I'm 20M and moved out of my parents' house at 18 because I really can't stand them. And it's for all of the kinds of reasons you can guess. They were jerks, favored my younger siblings, used me as free child care, told me what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, and all that BS. When I left, my dad told me not to let the door hit me on my way out and don't come back. I got the smallest and cheapest apartment I could find and have worked the same full-time job for 2 years. My parents didn't even hold out a month before calling me and begging me to come back home. Because without me someone else had to watch my siblings. I refused because now I finally had time for myself. My dad eventually called me and actually demanded I move back home and pay them rent instead because family is more important than my personal independence. I said back to him that my life is important too. And for once I'm getting to live for myself. So he basically said, well then see how long you can last without us, and we didn't talk for months. I don't know what he was hoping for. I managed well enough by myself. My family seemed to slowly accept that I wasn't going to come crawling back, and over time we seemed to mend things. I could tell they were having a hard time dealing with the fact things were on my terms and not theirs. They begged me to watch my youngest siblings from time to time, even though the two that are closest to me in age are in their mid-teens now. But my parents don't want to put babysitting on them any more than they have to. Which is hypocritical of them since they tried to put it on me as much as possible. And yes, I have called them out on that. They responded with gaslighting and more months of silence yet again. And again they were the ones to come crawling back to me for help. Not long ago I bought myself a used Nintendo Switch. Though could only afford one game for it at the moment. Which is Mario Kart. I got it bundled with the console for a good deal. My mom came by on a Saturday and asked me to watch my 2 youngest siblings for a while. She basically pushed them in the door at me and ran. And I was stuck with these 2 rowdy kids all day in my tiny apartment. My mom didn't come back until after 9 p.m. And that was because I called her and made her come get the kids. And she really didn't like that I cut her fun time short. I said that unless she wanted to pay me, I wasn't going to be watching my siblings all day anymore. And next time I won't even open the door, and I'll call the cops if she just leaves them outside. The next morning I realized I couldn't find my Switch anywhere. So I called my parents. And like I thought, one of my siblings took it. I said I was coming over to get it right away. But my mom said it could wait because my youngest sibling was gaming on it. And she didn't have the heart to take it away. I said it was taken without my permission. And I will be taking it back. I got on my bike and rode there ASAP. And when I arrived my sibling was crying because the Switch's battery had gone dead and they didn't have the charger. I told them to give it back. But my dad took it and said I can have it back when I agree to start helping out with my siblings more. I told him if that's how he wanted to play this, I'd get police involved. And no, I was not bluffing. He dug his heels in and insisted I wouldn't do it. Until I pulled my phone out and started dialing. My mom yelled wait, and hurriedly took my Switch back from my dad. He called her a traitor and demanded she return it to him instead of me. But she said it wasn't worth having police called on them. Before leaving I told them if this ever happens again, I'd be calling the police first. And if they want a Switch for my siblings so bad, they can get their own. My dad yelled that I can't disrespect him like that. And I countered that even though I'm an adult, he's not bothered to ever show an ounce of respect to me. And I'd had enough. Then I walked out with him yelling at me to come back and face him. Right now it's back to silence from them. My mom texted me once begging me to still watch my siblings. I said that if she wanted me to babysit so bad, she could pay me. And I'd only take the money in advance. Because I'm not doing it for free anymore. Especially after they stole from me and tried to keep from returning my property. They don't own me, I'm an adult with my own place and my own life. And they can either get used to it or get lost. It's been over a week since that text convo, and none of them have as of yet talked to me again. Which is fine. They can deal with their own messes. Edit. Holy **T. I didn't expect to come back to this many messages. Thank you everyone for all the support and awards. It means a lot to me. Lady let her child scream until me and my dad got sensory overload at the aquarium, by user Kun Sang Glamo. Me and my dad have autism. We love sharks, and we were peacefully looking at the shark exhibit at the aquarium. This lady comes along with her child and she lets the child scream extremely loudly until I have an anxiety episode / sensory overload combination, and my elderly dad was very distressed as well. Although he is very introverted, he bravely tried to ask the lady to calm or soothe her child for my sake, but she screamed at him and caused us so much distress that we had to leave. I don't know what is wrong with people. Screaming at an elderly man who is just trying to protect his daughter from your own child's behavior is unacceptable and appalling. Where is the consideration for others? Entitled Sister got upset I wanted 30 minutes alone with my daughter on her birthday, by user Wise Scientist 2966. Answers to some of the questions at bottom. So it's my daughter's 6th birthday and we're throwing a party for her Saturday, but her actual birthday is on a Thursday. My lil girl loves her birthday. My sister came out for her birthday. I've posted about her before. She's obsessed with my lil one, and whenever she comes to visit feels like every second she's here she should be able to spend with her, to the point where she'll get upset that her dad, who I co-parent with, takes her a couple days a week. Mind you, she stays for weeks at a time, so she expects him to not see her for weeks. Well, for her birthday, before ES even got here, daughter's dad said he'd be picking her up from school and doing something with her on the day of her birthday. Which I said was fine. Well, when I told ES, she kinda got annoyed but said whatever, she'll just do presents and stuff with her before school. I remind her that we need to be on our way to school by 7:30, cause she doesn't care about time, only hers, so whatever she wanted to do she needed to be done by then. Mind you, after her dad drops her back off she's going to spend the entire night and rest of the weekend with her. Well, when it's time to leave to drop my kid off, she starts to get ready and I say as nicely as possible that I wanted to drive her myself. She lost it. She wanted to take pictures and drop her off too so she could spend time with her, since she wasn't going to pick her up after school. I was going to lose it as well, but I just said, listen, you just spent an hour and a half with her and we'll spend the rest of the night with her. Her dad will be spending time with her after school. Is okay if the person who actually birthed this human gets 30 minutes alone with her. And I turned around and walked out. Needless to say, the rest of the trip was just as uncomfortable as many of her other trips when she tries to pull this stuff. She also, once again, only bought a one-way ticket but was in for quite the surprise when she found out that unlike before, I was WFH and still am, technically, but go into the office more often, there wouldn't be a car available for her to pick up my lil one every day after school, and her dad would be. There's not much she could do about it because it's not like she can walk to go get her and the school is far. She ended up buying her ticket back pretty quickly when she found herself sitting in my apartment doing nothing while I was working, and lil one was at school and then her dad's. Please, older sisters out there, remember that your youngest sister is a separate person, and just because you're older you're not entitled to everything. Especially not your siblings' children. Response to comments. Wow, I was expecting this response, but I truly appreciate it. First, I'll say that my daughter adores her and she treats her well. However, I cannot agree with all of you more that the behavior is unhealthy for my sister. I have set boundaries in the past, specifically the visiting without a date of departure. She respected it at first and always had a ticket to go home, but then one time I let it slide, that she didn't have a round trip, and from there it was given inch take a mile. My sister is super lonely and does have a lot of time on her hands, which she then assumes we all have. I have been wanting to tell her to get a hobby, not in those words, but have found it difficult. She is a very emotional person and there's a lot going on where, she's 10 years older. I used to always follows her around and be up under her, but when I got older and came into my own personality she was super hurt that I went LC with her. She was always critical, would come to my house and then send me emails when she left with detailed lists of what I was doing wrong, so I started to distance myself. Now that my daughter is here it's like she's my replacement and smothers her, scared that I may take her away or something. Either way, I am going to have a talk with her because I'm starting to dread every visit, every phone call, and that's not fair to anyone. I know I need to step up and just tell her regardless of how she may take it. Thank you guys so much. My mom called me fat after my grandma told me I'm beautiful, by user apart masterpiece 393. I don't get along with my parents. It was my son's 6th birthday and my mom invited us over, AZ to CA, 5.5-hour drive, to come over, have dinner and cake at her place. I haven't spoken to the rest of my family, brothers, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, for years due to my mom lying about what I'm doing with my life. I have too much anxiety speaking with them because I don't want to expose my mom or say the wrong thing to piss her off. Well, my grandma FaceTimed my mom while I was over. After I had answered she told me I look beautiful. When my Monday heard this, she said, "You're getting fat." I am not fat, but my entire life she's called me fat and ugly, to the point I started starving myself when I was 13 to meet her expectations of beauty. I was always too dark, too short, too fat, too ugly, too stupid. She was physically, mentally, and verbally abusive my whole life. Now I have depression, anxiety, CPTSD, and body dysmorphia. My other grandma, Dad's mom, who she was a bitch to while we were growing up, died last week and they held her funeral and didn't even tell me. I called my mom out on it and she acted like I'm the bad guy for calling her out. Also, her birthday is a day after mine, March 26th, and my whole childhood, teenage, and adult life I've had to put my birthday aside or spent my birthday finding her a present, otherwise she'd throw a tantrum. Now this year, after everything, I really want to cut her off, but if she sends me a present, do I send one back? Should I be nice on her birthday at least? Background: she kicked me out when I was 19 with a 16-month-old and I moved across the country and worked 3 jobs and put myself through college without her caring that I was living in a car and sleeping hungry every night for days on end, living off mostly water. She still holds stuff over my head from when I was 5, 20 years ago. And tells me what a bad person I was and everything wrong I did starting from age 5 and up. Edit: wow. I wrote this before bed with such a heavy heart and woke up reading all these comments and I appreciate each and every one of them. Just some quick details: she kicked me out 6 years ago, since then I met an amazing man and married him, we have a 1-year-old as well. I hid my entire pregnancy and the baby from her until he was 5 months old. She didn't know I was married either. I had no choice, and I was right. As soon as I told her about the baby she was coming up with lies to tell her family about why I didn't tell her. She said maybe tell them I knew but you didn't want others to know yet. Her family protects her and calls me evil when I try to look after myself, so it's not even worth telling them anything. Also, I'm 5'1", 115 pounds and have big boobs and a big butt but a tiny waist. My friends always tell me I have the perfect hourglass figure, but her standards of beauty are that a girl needs to be skinny and flat. Angry mom tries to get me fired because I was too young to work there, by user Stayed48. At the job I used to work at let you work at 14, it was a ice cream/burger fast food restaurant. So after 8th grade I got my work permit and applied, got hired, and started working. For the first 3 weeks it was really fun, went with co-workers to see movies and just had fun for a retail job. But after my 3rd month there I was on the 2nd register serving ice cream and I was serving Em and her son. After I'm done making their cone and the son comes and asks how old I was, at the time I looked like a 12-year-old girl. I told EK that I was 14 with a work permit and he was fascinated by how young I was working, but his mom was pissed about it and she didn't buy it. She told me you are too young to work, you shouldn't be here till you were 16. Where is your manager? You're getting fired, young lady. After the whole restaurant hearing her yelling, my boss came and said, "Ma'am, OP working here is perfectly fine, he has his work permit and is on the strict child labor laws." After all that, the M and her kid left and me and my co-workers and boss laughed about it and got back to work.